Good morning and welcome back, fellow racist, apolitical, hipster white men and women. Can't forget the women. So obviously I'm going to have a rant about Britain and how retarded our country currently is. And the reason we're facing these problems, through no fault of our own, is because we don't take the fault upon ourselves. We don't take responsibility for the fix. We look up and down the lines for the government, the police, and the corrupt media, and we know that they're not going to do anything. So, even though it's not our fault, we didn't cause this. If the government, the police, and the media are not going to do anything, and we know that they're not, how's about, here's a bit of an idea, how's about, guys, we take that responsibility, even though it is not ours, it's not our fault, let's just grab it with both hands, and then we, you, I, and every other moral, upstanding citizen of Britain, we can be responsible for the cure, the fix, the solution to our problem. And I am, in fact, talking about, when I say our problem, our favourite friendly Arab cousins, the Muslims, the jihadis, the rapists and terrorists, which have crossed our porous borders and made themselves a nice, comfortable home in the spot which was previously our nice, comfortable home that we've been pushed out of, that we've let ourselves get pushed out of by these absolute bin liner wearing, cult worshipping maniacs who have zero moral fibre and don't care about us. And if you think about it, I won't even have to tell you what the most ridiculous thing about this is. Everybody says, "Oh, won't you please think of the children?" That's the reason why we all have to be called racists, fascists, masochists, whatever ists or phobes. Because we can't have the children growing up to think that there's anything wrong with this world or this country, or that there's any problems that they may have been handed to them by us and our inaction. So what that means is our children never see us solving these problems. Instead of solving problems and children learning what problems are and how to solve them, they learn that you better look the other fucking way. That it is not a problem. And if you even suggest that it is a problem, then guess what you are? You're a fucking racist and you are the problem. That's what we are teaching the next generation of nubile-minded children. And for God's sake, people, how do you think their lives are going to pan out with this ridiculous worldview, this absolutely corrupt thoughts about their own country? If they think they can't recognise a problem and spot it without being called a nasty name, they are slaves. We have given our children over to slavery, and we have told them that it is freedom. I can't think of a bigger evil than that. Anyone who harms one hair on one of my dear children, it would be better for him to throw a millstone around his neck and cast himself down into the depths of the ocean. So says Jesus Christ, about 1,800 years ago. And I've got to say, even before I was a Christian, when I was an anti-Christian atheist, a gobby hippie, a yoga-worshipping vegan with lefty, stupid, retarded values, even then I understood and I agreed with Jesus on that particular point. Anyone who dares set foot or harm a hair on a child's head, we reserve the worst nasty names and then the worst punishments for those particular people. That's Britain. That's a British value. That's something which Britain has always done. Regardless of who was the king, regardless of what the government were doing, or who was currently flying the flag over our green and pleasant land, no, it was British people that enforced that. Not the government, not the police. They were late to the party. We enforced it. So why are we sat around allowing our children to be mass gang raped, enslaved and brainwashed by these fanatics, these cultists, these Muslim terrorists, these foreigners, these immigrants with no passports? Why are we allowing this when our children are the ones who will suffer? Don't think we won't suffer it, because guess what? I know we don't like to mention it or think about it. When we're old and we're pissing ourselves because we can't hold it in and we don't know which country we're in or what our fucking name is, guess who is going to be charged with our care? Who's going to be repaying the faith we showed in them and the care we showed them and looking after us in our old and infirm days? It'll be those children we are sadly letting down today. So what's to be done about it, oh fellow Britons? Well, for a start, we can get our fucking act together, can't we? Yes, we can. We can say, I don't care if I'm called a racist or a fascist or a phobe or an ist or anything else. I will take that on the chin. I will wear that cross with pride, because guess what? I care more about the upbringing and the futures of the tiny children of Britain, our sons and daughters. I care more about them and their upbringing. I care more that they grow into able, confident, kind and caring, moral citizens of this country and do something good with their life than I do getting called a racist by a terrorist. Which I hope, praying to God with my hands together in prayer, I pray to God that everyone that hears this message feels exactly the same way. Because if you don't, well, I'm sorry, but you're the enemy. And I don't care where you're from, what colour you are, what religion you are, why you are here, whether you were born here. If you don't agree with me that children should be shown the example of how to detect a problem and then deal with it despite being called nasty names, even if this means going up against the police, the government or whoever else wants a peace, if you're not agreeing with me that that's the right thing to teach children, then you are the enemy. You're the crocodile in the swimming pool, and we need to root you out, bind you and throw you on the fire. Or as Jesus would put it, we need to put a millstone around your skinny little neck and throw you in the Atlantic and not even think twice about looking the other way as you bubble and drown. Because you are the enemy, not just of me, if you think that, but every sane, moral British citizen and everyone they care about. And guess what? This is Britain. Need I remind you, this is not Gaza, this is not Egypt, this is not Libya or Syria or Iran, this is not a random island in nowhere. This island is Britain. And we are the British. So that means when people think British or Britain or English or England, we are the guys who give that identity to those words. They think of us, they think of what we do, and currently we're a fucking laughingstock. So, in conclusion, do we want to remain being the laughingstock of the world, failing our forefathers, failing the 2,000 odd years of great moral history and tradition that we have behind us, for the sake of not being called a racist by a bunch of bin liner wearing, Quran worshipping terrorists? Or are we going to wise up, man up, and get things right in this country? Because time's ticking away. So, hopefully that has motivated a little bit of fire in your belly, and you will agree with me that nothing is worth the sacrifice of our children's futures and our peaceful, pleasant nation. Nothing. And certainly not being called nasty names by absolute criminal maniacs. People who wouldn't know a moral if it bit them on the backside and shook the life out of them. Because their morals are told to them by a demon named Allah. I mean, the guy doesn't like bacon. If you can say you don't like bacon and look me in the eyes, I will look you in the eyes and say I don't trust you. It's like a person who doesn't like chocolate. What can you expect from a person with such terrible taste? So, back on point. What do we do about this problem? Well, for a start, we recognise morality and law, kindness and generosity, charity. All these things, they don't come from the government. They don't come from an exterior force. They come from an internal place, which Christians will say is the Holy Spirit, which we all have embodied within our hearts. Atheists will say it's just a latent morality. It just grows out of the universe. It's definitely not God. But it's the same thing they're talking about. That's what I'm getting at. Everyone has it, Christian or otherwise. That's the thing we want to be loyal to. That's the thing we want to be afraid of offending. Not terrorists or some dickhead commies in the government, not Keir Starmer, who, by the way, is going to leg it with his money in a year or two, leave us in the lurch. We will be paying down his debts that he's accumulating now, that he's cut off benefits and sold the NHS to pay for. That's us. That's our stuff, our money that he's using to pay his wages. He won't be here in a few years to mop up the mess, will he? So let's organise ourselves now. Let's unite so there's more of us and we have a louder voice and a bigger prowess when it comes to taking action. And let's have a strategy, because as I have always said since the early days of my YouTube beginnings, hope is great, hope is lovely, everyone should have hope, but hope is not a strategy. Hope is what you have when you have a strategy, because your strategy will probably get you to where you want to go, and that means you can be hopeful as long as you work towards your strategy, that in the end you shall see your victory. So, the final thoughts, ladies, gents and Pikachus, is this. We need to get our heads together now, we need to have a strategy now, and we need to find the motivation and the desire to stick to that strategy like glue, even when we get called nasty names, even when people insult us or threaten us, even when jihadis are in the streets chanting that they're going to take over our country. What do we say to them? We say, we don't fucking care. This is our country, and you will take it over my dead body, and mean it. Because actually, even though they think there's more of them, because they're very, very loud and noisy and they make all the dramas and all the fuss, there are far more of us, and we just don't make any fuss, any drama, we don't make any noise whatsoever. So it seems like we are small in number and weak in ferocity, with no power. But I can tell you this, it won't take more than a month or two if we organise ourselves and make as much noise as we can and start bringing the fuss and the drama back to these arseholes that want to wreck our country, steal the futures off our children and sell our NHS from under our nose. If we start to make that noise and organise ourselves, we will soon see the true power of Britain, British people, and guess what will happen then? These cowardly, gutter-snipe, bin-liner-wearing, cultist, murdering, raping, maniac Muslims will be running away from us, the way they run away from Gaza. Even though Allah Kasham, they pretend that they want to die in the service of Allah, and they pretend that the reason they have to run away from Gaza is because everyone's dying there. It's like, hang on a minute, let's put two and two together here, Muslim. If you want to die in the service of Allah, but Gaza is you've left Gaza because everyone there is dying, that doesn't make sense. Either you want to die and you stay in the place you're most likely to die, to your worst enemy, those evil Jews you hate so much, or you're running away from the place you're going to die in and coming here and then saying on camera that you want to die for Allah when you don't really mean it. Isn't that a thing? Even the most simple-minded portrayal of the basic beliefs of Islam show it to be a false religion. They don't want to die for Allah. That's just a cover story that sounds good for the cameras because they are propagandists. What they want to do is kill for Allah. And we know this if we read the Quran of the Muslims. You knew I was going to fit that in. So our Quran of the Muslims, only Arabic, Allah's word, you know, the one that he says don't translate into any kufi, dirty foreign languages, that one, it doesn't say anything about dying for Allah. It says killing for Allah. It says the paradise can only be achieved when the last infidel loses his head. You know, infidels being everyone who isn't an Arab Muslim. And the way they're going to achieve this is by travelling to everyone else's countries and applying the rule of taqiyya. Telling us stupid Westerners lies so they can steal our stuff, live in our houses, chase us from our own land, and eventually murder us all. Whether or not we admit to this, that is what they are doing. So let's get ourselves organised. Let's get a strategy on the go. Let's unite into a large group of moral British citizens who are not going to put up with this bullshit a second longer. And I know there are many of you around. Everywhere around where I live has seen protests recently. Large groups of people who threw caution to the wind, and they are stood face to face with the commie policemen who are two-tier policing like no one's business. No one's arresting these flipping masked jihadis carrying weapons, shouting death to the infidel. They're not getting arrested, they're not getting hassled, no one is shutting them down, silencing them. It's only us British people. But this isn't because they have some kind of politic. The police aren't that bloody good. No, the police are lazy. So what that means is, they will take the easiest option available. They will take the path of least resistance. And that means if they see a crowd of 20 Muslims who are going to cause violence and shout and swear and call them racist and follow them about and try and make their life a misery for them having done their jobs properly, then they see a crowd of 100 nice, polite, tea-drinking British people who aren't going to do a bloody thing about it if they get shat on. Guess which one they're going to police? That's right, ladies, gents and Pikachus, they're going to police the one who they know is going to give them no problems afterward. So, get united, get organised, get educated, get motivated, and be ready to make trouble, be trouble, and end the trouble that these idiots in government have invited here by illegally migrating millions of cultist jihadis and their families and friends here into our once beautiful, peaceful nation for the exact purpose of taking it over, kicking us into an early grave, and erecting the black flag of Islam. That's what's happening here. So, that's basically it. That's all I have to say on the subject of Islam and Britain. We need to get ourselves organised. We need to understand that the government are not coming to help us. The media are not coming to help us, and neither are the police. Probably the military won't either. So what does that mean in practice? It means you are going to have to work like mad every single day and be very committed and motivated, and you are going to have to develop a little bit of a thick skin while they call you names, shut down your Twitter feed, delete your comments on YouTube and hide your videos and make sure that nobody ever sees them. You're going to have to get used to the fact that nobody is coming to help you. You have to be the one to offer help to your brothers and sisters. And when we do that, when we collect our might and put our heads together and we show these people what British people are really made of, that we're not cowards, we're not stupid, we're not weak, and we're certainly not without motivation to save our beautiful country, within a few short months, we will turn this ship around. And a few short months after that, they will be running in terror from us. Not because we're waving swords or chanting death to Allah or whatever the bloody hell they think we're going to do. It will be because we won't believe their lies, because we won't tolerate their bullshit, and because they will see when they look in our eyes that we will stand up for our country and we will take no bullshit. Because Britain is for the British and we feel no fear. God bless you all, have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.